Hey everyone and welcome. In today's video we're going to do a bit of a dive into Linux and how you can install it via WSL to make it nice and easy for you to access from your Windows machine on just about any type of hardware that you own. Super simple, super easy to do, and I'm going to go over how you can install WSL, how we can set up WSL, and then how you can do some basic usage of WSL. It's a great feature of Windows that allows you to easily access the Linux system on a Windows device with minimal configuration, and it's an awesome place to start if you're just getting started in the world of IT and you want to learn some Linux knowledge. Linux is everywhere, so you may as well jump in for the ride. Without further ado, let's jump into the video. So, let's talk about what is Linux. Firstly, let's briefly talk about what Linux is. Linux is an open source operating system that powers a wide range of devices and servers, desktops to smartphones, and unlike proprietary systems, Linux offers the freedom and flexibility, which is why there are so many distributions available, such as Ubuntu, Fedora, Debian, Arch, you name it. So today we're going to be focusing on Ubuntu. It's one of the most popular Linux distributions out there, mainly because it's user-friendly and there is a large community supporting it, which makes it a great OS if you've got a problem. It's very easy to be able to find that support, especially when you're jumping through a different operating system that has a different way of operating, has a different way of interfacing with it. It is a big jump if you're coming from only ever touching Windows. So you may be wondering, how are we going to run Linux today? And that is a great answer, because we're going to be running it on WSL. What is WSL, you ask? It stands for Windows Sub System for Linux. Pretty simple name. So you may be asking, well, Harry, how do I go about installing WSL on my Windows machine? That's actually very easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump in our start menu and we're going to type in features, and you'll see this little option come up here on the screen, which we're going to open. It'll pop up, and as you can see here, we've got these options. We're going to scroll down to the bottom, and what we're going to want to do is we want to choose this option right here. It is our Windows subsystem for Linux. Now, there's a reason why we're choosing this option. This is a Windows feature. When you install this feature, it will install a bunch of additional packages that are required to support running WSL, or Linux essentially, on Windows. So what we're going to do is we're going to click that box, we're going to let it install, it'll probably prompt you to restart, and once you've restarted, alright, let's say now you're back in your Windows environment. I want you to open up PowerShell or Terminal. So simply, start menu, Terminal, open it up. When it's open, you're going to type in the following. So we're going to click on our screen here, and we're going to type in WSL -- which means flag in terminal context, and we're going to go list, right? You'll see it'll print this out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up and I'm going to go -- online. This will now tell us all of the available operating systems we can use, or that are available to us to install via the WSL module. So in this case, we're going to use Ubuntu. Now, Ubuntu 22.04 is an LTS version, which stands for long-term support. It means it's got patching and it's going to be supported and updated for quite some time. It is getting close to end of life. So 24.04 is the now newest, latest and greatest LTS version. It is definitely the version that we should be jumping into, or you should be installing. There are some reasons why you may not want to go with the latest and greatest. If it has just been released, there are possible chances that support may not be there, but in this case, this is outside the scope of what we're doing in this video. Now, I've already installed Ubuntu. It is 22.04. However, it's not going to affect us for the purpose of this video. So now you'll simply just type WSL -- or flag install, and we're going to go space, and we're going to say Ubuntu -22.04, and you'll hit enter, and it will go through and install it. Now, it may ask you to reboot the machine again. When you come back into the machine once you've rebooted Windows, right, you'll simply just need to type WSL. Now, the first time you run this, what it will do is it's going to ask you to do some basic setup. So it'll ask for a username, it'll ask for a password, do you want to install updates, all that sort of jazz, right? So now let's say we want to load into WSL. All right, boom, we're now in it. So let's say we wanted to work out, how do we use this OS? Well, Linux whilst it can be daunting, especially when we're talking about terminal only, there is a lot of ways that you could utilize this OS. Now, what I want to teach you is once we've logged in, right, we're now presented with the following. We're presented with this here, and that there is the username of your Linux user account, and then this here is the name of the host machine. So in this case, it's BinChicken, which is an Australian IBIT. Right here, under the blue, we have our current working directory, right? Or CWD if you want to try and abbreviate that. Now, you might be wondering when you log into Linux, gee, Harry, like I'm really not sure what directory I'm in. It's not printed, you know, here. What do I do? Well, you know, it's a really simple question, because you simply just need to type PWD into the keyboard, which stands for print working directory. We'll just do that over here. PWD, and that stands for print working directory. That's a super useful command for finding out where you are in your OS's folder structure. Now, let's say you want to know what files are present in the current folder. That's a great question. So, what we're going to do, and just for those wondering what I just typed in there, that's CD, which is change directory. In this case, I've switched back to the root directory. So, as you can see on the screen, the directory is just the little squiggle, right? So let's go PWD. As you can see, it shows us where we are, which is TuneFlow. Now, I want to know what files are in this folder that I'm in. I wonder what I would press. Well, that's a great question, because it's as simple as ls, which stands for list. Very basic, very straightforward. ls. And as you can see, we have a text file in here from npm, which is part of the Node.js package manager, which is pretty straightforward. Now let's say, gee, Harry, I want to make a folder. Well, that's a great question, because we can do that too. We can go mkdir, which stands for make directory, and we can just give it a name. Let's say Harry was here. Great. Okay, that's awesome, Harry. How do we know it's actually there? Well, that's a great question. We can go ls. Look, it is here, and it's blue. Now, not all terminals will show it with color coding, but in this case, this terminal does. It's blue, and blue indicates it's a directory, which makes it nice and easy for us. Now, let's say we wanted, gee, I don't know, to change into that directory. What would we do? We'd go CD, and then we would go J, and we'll hit tab. Tab, super, super, super useful, right? Tab in Linux, and if you're from Australia, no, it's not the betting corporation, right? T-A-B. That mad button, when you click it, boom, it does the auto complete. Now, autocomplete only works if the intended thing that you're typing out is currently in the directory, and it is also case sensitive. So just if I typed a lowercase h, it wouldn't have auto-completed because there'd be no files. If there are ones with similar names in the directory, you can press tab a few times, and what it'll actually do is it'll actually display all of the possible combinations in that directory. All right. So to show you what happens when you have multiple different files or directories that you're trying to auto tab on, right? Let's say we want to change into Harry was here, right? Now I've already LS'd, which is this, right? Which shows us the files that are currently present, where we are currently located. So our current working directory, right? CWD. Right, I want to go CD, and we're going to go A, and I'm like, I'm going to auto tab. The moment you press tab, it'll show you both your options. So if we look here, you can see it's showing us both these options. Now, let's say I want to go into the Harry was here. Right? Awesome. I'm in here. Let's go ls. Ooh, there's some text files in here. Now, I did create these a bit earlier, but let's say I want to create a new file. Harry, what would you do? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. It's actually pretty simple. We would really, quite simply, just type the word touch. And we're going to go touch, and we're going to give it a name. We'll call it super cool text. Right? Now, we could just not give it an extension, but I'm going to put an extension. I'm going to give it text. Now, if we go ls, you can see, boom, super cool text is now showing. You go, all right, Harry, how do I edit this? Let's say it is a text file and I want to edit it. What do I do? Well, Ubuntu has a awesome little text editor built in. Now, it is actually available on quite a lot of, actually almost nearly all Linux OSs out of the box. It's called Nano, and it's a super easy to use text editor tool. And yes, I know you hardcore fans out there are going to be like, oh, you should be using Vim or Vi. Yeah, look, personally don't care. Like, it's a little bit more complicated than most people need, and sure, there may be some benefits, but I want something quick and easy and just works, and I'm going to use Nano, and Nano has never let me down. So you may hate me for it, but I'm going to teach you how to use Nano. It's really easy. So I'm going to type in Nano, and we're going to go super cool, and we're going to auto tab complete that. We're going to enter on the keyboard. Now, awesome, you've got this mad window. All right, Harry, what do we do? Well, it's as simple as literally just typing in what you need to type. Awesome, right? So easy and simple. You go, Harry, what are all these like icons or buttony things down the bottom? That's a great question, and I'm going to show you. So if we look over here in our screen, and we look at this little up symbol. This symbol represents the control key on the keyboard, right? So our control key is then plussing to use the G key, right? So if we wanted to say, I don't know, we want to find a file, right? Find is going to equal control plus W, right? That's what the where is stands for. Now, what are these other ones stand for, Harry? What's this M and U? Well, M is the equivalent of Alt on the keyboard. So what these are really saying is they're saying Alt plus E, which is like the undo or redo keys. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to get rid of all that, and I want to save the file. So to save the file, we're going to go Control X on the keyboard. It's going to say, do you want to save the buffer? You're going to press yes on the keyboard, which is Y. And then it gives us an option to rename the file. If we rename the file, it will save it as another file, and it will prompt you a yes or no. Do you want to save it? In this case, we don't want to change the name of it. We want to save it as is. So we're going to enter on the keyboard. Awesome. That's great. Now, Harry, how do we read that file? That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked. What we're going to do is we're going to simply run the word cat, which basically catnates the file out into text into the terminal, and we're going to go cat, and we're going to go super cool text. Pretty simple. And look at that. Boom, we've got the word hello on our screen. You can also use a command called tail, and that's called tail, right? We'll go tail, super cool, and we're going to auto tab complete. Boom, same response. Now you go, Harry, why do we have two different tools or commands we can use to display a value or the contents of a text bar? Well, tail has a few more unique properties. Tail makes it easy to only show a particular number of lines of messages. So you could go tail space -10 space the file, and it would only show the last 10 lines, right? You can do tail space -F space the name of the file, and you can get a live reading of that file as the system is updating contents of that file. So log files are a great example of this. It allows you to view a log in real time to see how the system is actually, utilizing that file and what changes it's making to it. Really great for live debugging. Now, we could touch on Vi or Vim. I don't want to touch on it really in this video. It's out of scope, as I've already explained. Now, just some background. Vim is the improved version of Vi. Vi is on nearly every single OS of Linux since it ever started, really. It's the default text editor. Vim is the improved version. It's not always installed by default. The command structure and stuff is roughly the same. You go, okay, Harry, that's great. What else are we going to do? I'll tell you what else we're going to do. I'm going to teach you the power of sudo. And you go, sudo? What's that, Harry? Sudo. Which is basically stands for, and you go, great, that's great. What does sudo stand for? Well, that basically stands for super user do. Super simple, right? There's a concept in Linux where basically your user is not an administrator, right? In the default context that your account just doesn't have the privileges to do whatever it wants. If you want to run an administrative function, you have to run it under sudo. Now, root account, you don't have to, and for context, the root account is the admin account by default in Linux. So when you run sudo, what you're saying is, I want to run this command, but I want to run it as the root user or the administrator, right? And that's really great, but you can't just always do it. Your account must be in the group called sudoers, right? And that tells the system that you are allowed to run this command as root or as the administrator. And that's what that command does. Instead of running everything that you do as the admin all the time, you're only running the commands you need to run when you need to run them and under the admin construct if you use the word sudo. And this is really good because it gives the system more security. It allows more control over who can do what, especially because you can then also define later on when we get into more advanced stuff, you can actually define in the sudo as file what users can run what command. Out of scope for this video, but it is a super crucial command. Anytime people are like, oh, I ran this command and it's not working, it's like, did you use sudo? Because there are some commands that only work as an administrator. Docker is a prime example of that. And that's probably the most commonly forgotten thing to type in is sudo. You're so busy typing your command in and then it's not working, and then it turns out it's literally because you didn't use the word sudo. So what we're going to do now for the purposes of this demo is we're going to shut the WSL instance down. Super easy, super simple. We're simply just going to type sudo and we're going to type shutdown. And we're going to say now because we want to tell the shutdown command to do a thing. And in this case, we want it to shut down now. To enter, as a sudo user, it will ask you for your password. And we're going to type our password in. Now, whilst you could bypass that password prompt, out of scope for the video, but not always the best practice, but it can sometimes reduce system security if you do remove the password requirement to running sudo. And that pretty much sums it up for this video, guys. Look, I really hope you enjoyed it. It was a real basic video, but I want to be able to enlighten people to the world of Linux and show them just how easy it can be. I know it can be super confronting, but I think we've got off to a good start. Whether your career is in IT or cybersecurity, Linux is like, you can't avoid it. It is everywhere. And I personally, I love it. Big Linux guy, love it. It's awesome OS. It's not clunky, it's not rubbish like Windows, but we've got a love-hate relationship with Windows. It's kind of everywhere. So on that note, I'm going to catch you in the next video, but please rate, comment, like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And I'm going to try and put some more video content out for you. I'm happy for you guys to make recommendations on what you may want to see. I can make videos on it, but for now, I'm going to go through a bit of a plan of just, some basic stuff, whether it's Linux, Windows, Cyber, and we'll go from there. Hope to see you in the next video.